There we go.
All right, so welcome. We are about to embark on our 9-week journey together. The course is Unraveling the Threads of Our Experiences, Introduction to Somatic Processing. So before we get into the thick of things, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's going to kick the meeting off with her own version of an introduction, and we'll start with a grounding. We're just going to get here. We're going to arrive together, and we're going to start building that as a practice for when we gather.
So the first thing for all of us to do as we look in and see each person and then ourselves as a collective, feel what it's like in your body to receive these images of these people in front of you. And you can go to each one by one, by one, by one, by one, by one. And as you do that, see if you get a felt sense or a sense of resonance of who this person is. We would do this if we were in a group, but we wouldn't maybe cognitize it like I'm talking and go through the process of like, oh, how is it in my body to look at this person that I haven't met before, and to know that I'm going to be in group with them. And I always get stage fright, little butterflies, things like that. And I don't feel it from other people, but I do feel it in myself. And so that's one way to start with the somatic processing work, is to have the pause, to notice how you receive another person. You might even get a sense of how you're being received and let that register inside you. Most of us look at people, we go on stage, I'm going to present now, and we put on a show, which is one way of having a persona that is for the public. And it isn't that you want to undo that, but I want to add to your skills in terms of your awareness and how you internally do things inside, and see how that is for you. Nice. And as you're here, just notice how your body is, how you're supported in the chair that you're sitting on. If you can have a sense of where your feet are. Do you like the shoes or the slippers that you have your feet in? How does that feel? Get a sense of like the clothing on your body. So these are all body felt sensations, and we have them, but we don't always pay attention to them. When we place our attention, then we're being present to how we are in present time. And so we're just going to spend a moment doing that, just doing a check-in. Noticing how it is for your body. And you might have a sense of where your center is or how you're centered in your body. And you can just check that out. There's no right or wrong here. It's the individual experience. And as you have that sense of your own center, do you get a sense of your own ground of being? And can you feel yourself rest and maybe even drop in more? So we're just starting with some of the skills that we'll go into deeper later. but we're going to go ahead and start going through the intention for the course. And we're going to get Dee back online with us, or she's just going to be there. And that's okay too. So,
I can hear you. Sorry.
oh, good. I'm glad you can. Thank you for that. So, what I'd like us all to do is introduce ourselves, like take about 5 minutes and introduce yourself. What brings you to this course? And what do you hope to get, or what are your expectations? And then tell us something that you would like us to know about you. And so, who would like to start? You have to unmute yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Are you okay if I start, Demetria?
Yes, ma'am.
I like you. So I've spent 44 years in the world of somatics. And I started out in movement therapy because I had surgery as a teenager. I had a progressive scoliosis, so I had 13 vertebrae surgically fused together. And this is when they did bony fusion and then they casted and braced you. And at that time, I was the youngest person that they had done that with. I was 13. Usually they wait until you're 15. So it was an experiment. And besides having a ding in my slinky, as I talk about my S for Susan in my scoliosis pattern, it brings a lot of pressure into the nervous system and into your body function. And probably some of the worst years of my life was after having 2 children and going through the structural changes of childbirth. And I was in a car accident, and the doctor that saw me after that car accident put me together with his physical therapist who did yoga. And so she taught me about using breath, slowing down the movement of the exercises, and really paying attention from the inside of myself as I did them, so I wouldn't over move and give myself a problem, but to do it gradually. And that was my introduction into the world of somatics. And it was a stunning thing for me because it gave me my first tool for starting to control the tension and the pain that I had at that time of my life. Years later, I got into a change from being a massage therapist to being a cranial sacral therapist. So I work with the brain and I work with people's nervous systems and how their nervous system can regulate itself or have a problem doing that. And I have a lot of history in terms of trauma for myself. I'm also trauma informed and do trauma-informed care. So I know the difference between event trauma and developmental trauma. And I use that as a tool to help people understand things about themselves in a way that supports them and gives them information and a way to look at things in a different frame. And who's next? Oh, my intention for the course is, what is my intention? Oh, providing you with the information that allows you to go inside in a way that makes it safe for you and to honor your own experience and to be honored by others, being heard and seen, be accepted for who you are and how it is for you, and to feel the safety of that personally within yourself. and to have that as a group. And that's lovely. That's a big thing. So thank you for showing up.
Demetria, can you get your camera back online?
Yes.
Is it working?
I'm using my phone. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Cool.
Thank you.
My computer went kaput.
Oh no.
Well, I guess since I'm talking, I'll go next.
Go.
I'm Demetria Jimenez. Let's see. I am a mother of two kids, a single mom of two kids. One is 19 and 18, or sorry, one is just turned 19 and the other one's 15. Um, let's see. I served in the military for a while, did Taekwondo for a while. I'm currently a nurse in the operating room. Let's see. It's been a really long journey for me. I'm not gonna go too deep into it since it's introductory. I've been through a lot of like trauma, like Susan was saying. It was a lot of things growing up, and then I did a lot of therapy through the course of from when I was from my early 20s until I was in my early 40s, and then I met Miss D through a mutual friend of mine, and it really hit home as far as this is something I want to do to better myself for myself, but also for my kids and my family in general. Um, let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Let's see. I'm kind of introverted, so talking is kind of hard. Nursing school helped me be able to speak out loud in front of people a little better. Um, this is actually pretty nerve-wracking to meet new people, but I'm excited that we're all kind of have similar motivations to wanting to do this course. My intentions are to learn the somatic process with you two ladies and better my life so that I can maybe better my kids' life and who knows in the future.
So glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I'm Jess Moen. For the last 26 and a half years, I've been a public school teacher, and then in December stepped out of that role, and I'm working on my licensure for natural medicine facilitation, so psychedelic therapy here in Colorado, which is exciting. And the licensure program allows me to practice while I'm in training. So I've been fortunate enough to start building a clientele of people that have kind of stuck somatic and emotional and psychological pieces stemming from different types of trauma and traumatic events and experiences. And so it's been just really wonderful to be able to facilitate people's healing in that way, to allow them safe space to process without the attachment to ego and all of that. I'm in this course because, well, my husband has taken it with Susan before, and then he's a therapist, and he suggested that I do it as well. I see Susan as her cranial sacral practice has helped me a lot, reconnect to the wisdom in my body. So I'm excited to learn more about how to do that and make sure that my energy is where it needs to be before I step into holding space for others. Okay, I think that's it.
All right, I will go. I can't believe this. I don't have words. So that's not normal for me. I'm Emily. Kylie's laughing because she knows me. She's like, how can you not have words? Um, hmm. I'm a mom of a couple, 21 and a 19-year-old. And on that other side of life, really diving into my own myself and learning about myself in this chapter. And I've actually started Susan really resonated with me. I started a class that I call Soul Sculpt. And I didn't have a lot of background with somatics or anything. I just felt called to help women get in their bodies. And I've always been a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor. And I'm pretty aware of my body, but Dee has really helped me divine timing at everything. And I've been able to spend some time on her table and time with her as a friend to help me actually get in my body. Although oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's just a prank phone call. Okay. I thought I had my notifications off, but I had my volume off, so I apologize for that. Um, Anyways, yes, so I thought I was doing really well until I realized there's a whole nother level of growth that I can achieve for myself. And similar to what Demetria said, that when I can do this for myself, I know that I can do that for my family and for everyone we meet. And I've just, with the little times that I've worked with Dee, seen the difference in myself and how I interact with the world, and thus how the world interacts with me. So very, very excited to be here. It was a no-brainer. So that is Emily.
I'll go. So I'm Kylie, and um, I met Dee through Emily. I'm a mom, two boys, 14 and 11, and a wife. And I'm in a big period of transition. A lot of things changing in my job. I've been in public relations, working with tech companies for like 20 years. Uh, and some shifts are happening, and I know that I'm supposed to be on a new path and divine timing. I feel like this class has helped me connect with myself on a deeper level, um, so that I, can make sure I choose that right path. And what really resonated with me when you guys said, helping our kids as well. Gosh, if I can, any path I can help shorten for them, I want to do that. Um, but yeah, I'm just really excited to learn more about the somatic work and connecting with myself, my body. Very grateful to be here. So thank you.
Guess that means it's my turn, except Dee still has to talk too. Can't hear you, Dee. um, but so my name's Renee Botten, and I thank you for allowing me to eat while I'm doing this. I my background is I was an electrical engineer, and for many years, and a problem solver, and I had lots of health issues, different autoimmune issues. And my family has various health issues and autoimmune issues and whatnot. And at some point, I started seeing Susan decades ago, and it changed my life completely. And not just my life, but my family's lives too. I'm sure that's why I'm still married, might be why I'm still alive. I went from having zero connection to my body, and knowledge of what's going on, to being very sensitive in my body and studying many things, studying Jinshin Jitsu. I did macrobiotics many, many years ago. I've done many, many things in my effort to become well. And it was so wild because for a year and a half ago, I did not even know about all the abuse growing up, right? Didn't even know about it. Totally didn't know I had split different parts of myself out. I've been very, very successful in career and lots of times in whatever I do, but not in taking care of me, right? I've always been responsible for taking care of everyone else. So years ago, I quit engineering and I teach violin and viola privately, and I run a youth symphony, a beginning youth symphony, which is where I was just dashing home from those classes. But I also study all these health things, and I've been wondering where, will I have where the next stage of my career be that I'm doing this for other people more. When I first started Genshin Jitsu, I thought I'd be doing that more, and then COVID happened. And so just like all of you have said, it all completely resonates. First, of course, is myself wanting to heal and grow. And second, my family. They drive me a lot, wanting to help them. I'm married and I have a son who's 33 with health issues, who lives at home, who finally is able to take care of himself enough to have a job, and then a stepdaughter who's 42. So my kids are old. And and then to see, well, what does this mean for my path for helping others? And when you talked about the psychedelics, some of my path for figuring out this whole past was I did MDMA for the first time almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And in 2 weeks, my husband and I are going to do it together. So it'll be interesting because, he's Mr. Engineer, and to see the changes he's made over the last year, because he was totally not open to much of anything. He's become open to a lot. So anyhow, that's kind of my background. And then as far as this course, Susan's a guru. I if she's doing something, I want to be there. So I don't even completely haven't read the syllabus. I don't really know much in particular about this course, but it doesn't matter because she's doing it. I want to do it, and I know it'll just help me develop myself more and be able to find more what my path is.
So, ladies, we are all here together, and we are safe. I want to start out with that. I couldn't imagine a better group of people to be doing this with. So, for those that haven't spent a lot of time with me, like Jess, Renee, we've spent some time in the Genshin community. My name is Dee Kinsey, obviously. My somatic journey started like 20 plus years ago, mostly around network care. But through the yoga teacher training that I took and all the things, like there was a lot of somatic in my life, and I was passionate about it. It's the thing. It's like you think you know something, and then you're like, oh, punk. And so I was going through life, through all of, we'll get to know each other better through all the experiences that I had that beautifully brought me onto the journey. But it was the intersection with Susan that I gave it language. It gave it texture. It gave it meaning, and it really, you could feel that she was present. Like I try all the time to think about, what was the switch that finally got, that finally grabbed me. But it's all those things. You talk about her being a guru. She's lived this, and our partnership is around the passion to make sure that as many people as possible get to experience what it's like to take accountability and be empowered in their own health and well-being and healing. And that is at the core of my intention for all of you, is if I can support you in any way in the journey that you're on, That's what I want to do. And that's why I'm doing this work. And that's why I'm in this course. And what I know for sure is even when we're doing this work together, like putting the content together, we're still doing the work. And so that's going to be true as we go through this. But you know what's wonderful? The opportunity that we have as a group, we're going to have moments. We're going to have irritation. We're going to have joy. It's how we show up into that, how we step into that and become more aware of, wait a minute, there's no way I'm irritated about this thing in this moment. What's going on? We're backing into this. So this is the opportunity we have together. And I am really excited. And, you know, if I can help foster more self-trust, more love, more presence for any and all of you, that is what I would love to do. While I do it for myself, right? I'm hopefully able to support you even more. So thanks for being here. Thanks for coming on this first journey with us in this mixed content environment. I don't know what to expect, but it's going to be, no matter what, behind this, the intentions that you all just shared are going to get us through whatever happens. That's what I know is true. So the next thing you want to do is has the portal opened yet? Have you guys, I know it had like 8 o'clock when Demetria was looking at it earlier. Did it still, you haven't gotten in yet either? Because I can show my screen or you guys can have it on in the background. I was trying to figure out what the best way to do this was.
Yeah, it still shows 8 o'clock.
Okay, so we have about 30 minutes before you can have access. And it's called a drip schedule. So we'll go through, we'll talk about this in a minute. I'm skipping ahead. So before we go on further, now we've got a general introductions. Susan's going to walk you through the lesson with the exercises for settling in. That's available to you to repeat, but she will talk you through that. And I'm going to show it on my screen because it's not available in the portal yet. So hang tight while I switch over to that. Oops. It takes a very long time to load.
So we're going to start with pause, like a timeout, just taking a moment, having a moment where you're like, I'm just going to disengage. I'm going to give myself a backup, create a little space between me and what's happening. And what happens when we give ourselves a pause, it changes the activation level of the nervous system. So if we feel things rising in us, that's the activation of the nervous system. And we can feel pressure from the inside. And that can drive anxiety, it can drive depression, it can drive trying too hard, losing our sense of balance with where we are. And so the pause is the magic word. Yeah, just taking a pause and just notice your body. What happens? And what happens when you consciously think, I'm going to pause right now and I'm just going to go in and notice my body. Do you feel that downshift that happened energetically for us as a group? So there's your body felt sensation that you could feel yourself, but you could also feel what I call the field relationship. So in quantum physics, the field appears first before it denses down to become whatever it is that's in the field. And this is true for organic life and inorganic life. And there's a resonance in the field. This is where we get a lot of information. We know the weather is changing because our field feels it and it informs our nervous system. So you're going to hear me talk about field relationship how it affects us, how we can check out sensations coming into us, and where we are in our own body, and how what's happening in our own body might be different than something that's coming in. And being able to differentiate that really matters, because with the sensitive people that you are, all of you, there can be confusion of not knowing where somebody ends and you begin. Because in our sensitivity of how we receive someone, and especially someone close to us, we feel almost like we're feeling their feelings rather than we're being informed of how intense their feelings are. And when we use the language to ourselves about, I'm being informed on how they feel, I'm really not comfortable with how they feel, and that's your generated feeling there. And when we can recognize that, it gives us a skill of going, oh, okay, I'm not comfortable. I think I'll just take a pause and breathe for a moment or two. Notice how your own system kind of settles in, settles down. And it's easier to be present and continue with whatever's happening. So being aware of your breath is related to your autonomic nervous system, the brain stem, fight, flight, run, okay? And the voluntary part of your nervous system, where if you think relaxed, your body's going to do it. You're not going to go, oh yeah, I'm relaxed and I'm holding my hand up like this for an hour. That is, we call that motor sensory amnesia. Your brain has lost its ability to sense what's going on in body parts, certain body parts. And it's a way of like helping you come on board and reconnect those neural connections and get them into a higher function rather than them being off. So noticing your breath, the fullness or the shallowness of it, and think about just pausing again. You just got a lot of information. How is that? Check in. How is that in your body? Notice how that is right now. And you don't have to do anything to change it. You know, you're just being present with yourself and your breath, and you have the body sensations. And then we've also got this mind that goes blah, 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 you know. I have a critiquer. I want to get this, so bump, bump, bump. Those are those points. And I will ask that part of my mind just to notice what's going on and be a good detective. Because we have whole body experience, and that experience is in us. We don't always know how to access it. But as we use the somatic skills, following body felt sensations, being aware of where we are in present time, when we're lifting up and out or coming back in, we will have and generate a greater capacity within not only our nervous system to know where we are in time and space, but also to know when we're getting triggered or a trigger is about to happen. Something from the past is coming up and going, I want your attention. And we're going to cover how to have skills and deal with this in a way that makes you more intelligent, because our brain gets smarter, because our nervous system isn't running at a capacity of either run or fight or go into freeze, where we're kind of like, I'm doing things, but I'm not really connected to myself. And those are states that are produced in our nervous system. And so we're going to be covering how our nervous system comes in and takes over. And it's not about us. We can't think our way out of it. We're getting hijacked. But it takes some skills to be able to be aware and then to let the nervous system know that you can name what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but I've got a lot of this going on in my chest. Your nervous system totally understands the thinking of it. If you say it out loud, there's something more that happens. You using your hands or even having a gesture in your face, your nervous system is right there with that experience. So as we bring our attention into a more full way of being present with ourselves, we have better access to use our intelligence in a bigger way than what we've learned from our culture. So that's the pause. And you can practice doing that. And then we're going to do a seated body scan. So just check it out since we're changing exercises. So that way it's like I'm breaking whatever state I was in before I go to here. And if you ever want to move energy, shake. And there's one of bouncing like a 2-year-old. Now, like that. And even bouncing up and down on your feet. Wasn't a very good demo, but you get that? That, if you get flooded with a lot of intense physical rushing energy, or even mental energy, it's a good thing to do 2 minutes and then just stand there and you'll watch your body just sort it all out. And then here comes the calmness. So part of the somatic processing is they're all skills that you know how to do. There isn't anything that you don't know how to do. You might not have cognitized it or used words to describe it. And that's the learning. And then it's the application. Doing something over and over again, that's what gives you skill because you have experience with it. When you have experience, it becomes knowledge for you. So this is a very personal type of thing because you're your own laboratory. Most people learn this work to do for others. And they wonder why people don't really get better. And it's because they are not a model for this is how you are in your body. This is how I am when I'm present with myself and feeling a group, feeling me. Does that make sense? Yeah, you guys are wonderful. So with our seated body scan, so just notice where you have the most weight in your body and just notice that. And being aware of your breath. And notice what's above where you have the most weight. Is it able to sink and settle into where you're weighted? Most of my weight is on my butt bones, but it transfers into the back of my thighs and then into my feet on the floor. So I'm finding myself rocking forward on my butt bone. So my body is adjusting its position. And I have a better breath. And I'm actually more comfortable than I was just a couple of seconds ago. So those are body posture changes because when we pay attention, we're not entrained out here with our attention. We're entrained in here, and yet we're entrained out here too at the same time. I call that whole brain, whole body. And usually in our culture, we're about what's happening up in here, and we lose ourselves in it, and we lose the context of self, and we lose the context of where we are in our environment. No big deal. It's just modern culture. But we suffer because of it. And that is something we can control. And that's what this skill set's about. So as you are here, notice how your shoulders are, and do your shoulders move down with their weight into your butt bones, into the back of your thighs, since we're all seated. What happens to your feet and knees when you notice your shoulders? And I'm doing another little posture shift. And again, you want to notice your breathing. I do this one throughout the day. I do a lot of sitting. I do this standing. I do this when I'm laying on my side in bed, just to, isn't this interesting? Oh, I think, yeah, that's better. I'm paying attention to my body, but I'm having a conversation with it. And the next thing I know, I'm asleep and I'm not awake until I need to get up. And it's been a wonderful way to fall asleep because I'm a person that has had a sleep disorder and it took a lot to get me to go to sleep. So those are two small things to begin with, and you can use them at any time. Indeed.
All right. How's everyone doing out there? Any questions or comments, observations?
Unmute
I'll
yourself.
say, I'll say one thing really quickly just because it's cool. Is as a violin teacher, Suzuki violin teacher, there's a famous man across the whole world, Dr. Shinichi Suzuki, Dr. Suzuki, who had a philosophy of teaching. And one of the things he would say is stop, think, then play, right? So that so if you made a mistake, rather than keeping practicing the mistake and getting really good at it, you would stop and think before, put a stop in or a pause right before that mistake so you could think, and then you'd be able to continue playing. So I call it the pause. So I teach all of my students about the pause, and that it doesn't just belong to violin playing, but it belongs to everything. And I said, so wouldn't it be amazing if you inserted a pause in front of all these different things so you'd have a moment to think and notice before you did it? So anyhow, thank you. I'm a big fan of the pause.
Thing we want to talk about is what you're stepping into for Module 1. So Susan's going to go over some of the fundamental, kind of an overview of Module 1. But I want to make sure that we are all very aware of this first class is a foundational class. It's going to be the most cognitive stuff you're going to do in this work, but it's important for us to understand, to come into common language, come into common understanding, so the rest of the content flows and you can get into the experiential part. Does that make sense? And so this first part is a little sticky, a little thick. We're going to give you the terms you'll hear her talk about to the best of our ability. I think we've captured most of them. If we've missed some that we're glazing over and you want us to park on it, please. It's important that we understand one another and that we can bring it all into context. So don't hesitate to say, hey, can you tell me what that means to you? If you've worked with me at all, you've heard me do this a lot. It's important. So just know that this first, especially Module 1. Module 1 is a lot of just the basics. Personal skills to develop is what she's going to go over. And then you have deeper lessons when everything opens up in maybe 15 minutes, fingers crossed, that it all goes off without a hitch. You're going to get into deeper lessons on all of the stuff she's going to summarize here. Kidoki?
So in our list of personal skills to develop, the first one is mindfulness. And so the joke is, oh yeah, who doesn't have a mind full of stuff? And in mindfulness, it's really a term that's used by people in monastic life about your mind full of awareness, that you're being present in your mind in an aware state. So a thought will come through, you're aware of that. You're washing the dishes, your attention's on the dishes, you're not really thinking, and here comes a thought. Body felt feelings, they're generated in the body, they come up through the nervous system, they come into the brain, and then the brain does, oh, that's a familiar thing, and that goes with this, or connects the dots, and that's the cortex. So there can be a story that gets generated or a memory that gets generated in that. So the context that we're using is how we use our mind, even when we're thinking, because that is a process. And it does come from awareness, just as your feelings are a process of awareness of being seen, being felt, being witnessed within yourself, being witnessed outside of yourself. Mindfulness, it gives you the foundation of knowing that you're present in your body. Or I call myself the yo-yo girl because sometimes I'm just half here. And that's my joke about myself. But you may and you may not go, there she goes. So, being present in your body and be able to be fully present in your body has a very distinct feeling and response in it. Our breath, again, it's connected to the autonomic nervous system and then the voluntary nervous system. We can settle ourselves down with our breath. You get startled, you can just bring your attention and make your lungs slow down and breathe big, and then breathe slowly down. And you change the state of your nervous system. There's studies that show when you think your breath is going to go to your left kneecap and give that kneecap more oxygen, they now have developed things where that actually happens. So your intention combined with your breath really does something inside your body. So it's a huge tool. And then there's the grounding. Am I present in myself? I think a lot of us know a lot of people who are present, but they're more present in their mind than they are physically. But you get around a bunch of women, we're pretty much in our body. If we feel safe, we show up in our body. And with guys, it's kind of almost 50-50. So see what you think about that statement and what your observations are from your own life. How many of you have heard the expression holding space? Okay, good. How many of you feel like you know how to do that? Yeah. And Miss Nurse here, Dee, you know how to hold space for people. You might not have a language about it, but you know a lot, and especially with you being a surgical nurse. What makes people feel safe when they're in the hospital is the nurses, because they do hold the space for them and they go inside and they do the healing. So thank you for being that person. When we hold space, we put our judgments aside. Doesn't mean that the mind's not generating them. Oh, what is this person doing? Whatever they think they are, but it's just kind of like, that's not what we're paying attention to. We're paying attention to the event that's happening in front of us or the event that's happening inside of us. And whatever the story the mind generates or the feelings, we don't lob onto them with our attention. We're watching the whole thing and we're being present to it. So you all know something about that. So just feel how that is in your body, just to know that right now you're all having this experience, but you're all holding space. And just check it out for yourself personally, and then kind of let that expand into a group thing and see how that is. And then bring it back into yourself. This is lovely. So you know how to hold space for yourself, be present, have that mindfulness going, expand out, hold that within yourself, and be in the group and feel that whole thing there. Some people have never experienced this before, so this is a real pleasure for me.
So how's everyone doing out there with that experience? I'm watching faces. How is it?
Good. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I noticed what you said earlier, much earlier. I think Dee, you said it at the beginning when you started talking
Can
about.
you speak up just a little bit, Renee, please?
I think you said it at the beginning about this being a safe space. And that just really resonated. I'm like, wow, yeah, I didn't know how important that was to hear that and to feel that in my body. But I do. I feel that. And even though I have only met most of you guys on here, I feel safe with you. And that makes it, I don't know, that just makes everything easier. And including the holding space for you guys, as well as for myself and everything. So thank you.
Kind of checking in with that and then checking out, here and then coming back in. That can be a new experience. And again, it's not anything you don't know how to do. It might be you just haven't had it cognitized. And you haven't had it cognitized in terms of it being a skill set. So in a witness state, the witness state is used in traditional healing. And you are mindful, you're aware of your breath, you're aware of the other person breathing, or the way that the earth is exhaling, inhaling. You know the ground that you stand on. You know if you're standing on ground that's aware of you. There's special places that we go to in the earth that we just love because it's just so revitalizing. And yet there's something that stirs inside of us as though there's a kinship there. It's like we're welcomed. We're welcomed by this little spot here on the earth. And when we move away from that spot, we feel different and we can tell. And we can tell as we're stepping towards it, it's almost as though the earth itself is receiving us. For those of you who have that kind of sensory sensitivity, that's a very real thing. All Indigenous people have this, and we are all people who have Indigenous ancestors. We might be generations away from people who lived on the land and who felt kinship with the land that they lived on. but we still have that in our DNA makeup. And so whatever our experience is, this just is another way of like being able to process it and to name it. Because when we name things, what's observed changes. And this is another rule out of quantum physics. Our first sense that develops in utero is hearing. So when we name things to ourselves, whether it's our thought or whether we speak it out loud, there's a resonance that happens in us. And it starts to change. It can be like, oh yeah, I do that. That's so cool. It makes me so happy to think about, my connection to the earth. And I live with a master gardener, so it's really like, I love going home. The land, we live in the middle of the city on a busy street, and I turn in that driveway, and I'm like maybe 10 feet in that driveway. And I'm just like, I just have to smile because of the land being cared for by this amazing gardener. And that to me is just such an amazing thing. Those kind of things that we sense inside ourselves are real, and we bypass them. And those are the things that really feed us. So the witness state, we observe our thoughts, but we don't really give our attention to them. These are skills that we're going to use for ourselves because most of it is out here. But when you're having a hard time and you can be a witness to yourself, that takes some chops. And you all have that kind of chops. You have that kind of being. And to witness yourself go through a hard time, you're going to track the good stuff right along with this hard stuff and the bad stuff. And you're not going to categorize it all in one thing. It will just be, oh, this is a ride. I didn't like it. But now that I'm done, I'm okay. And having that sense of self and your okayness with yourself, that's revitalizing. And most of the time we'll like, oh, this is so intense, I better not be here. And, that can be a really good safety mechanism. And we'll get into that I'm in my field and it's better for me to be there than I'm in my body. Sometimes it's the prerogative of your nervous system. This is too intense. You're out here. Peter Levine, who is the founder of somatic experiencing, where a lot of the somatic work comes from, says it is the last and best resort from your nervous system to pop you out in your field and then bring you back in. Sometimes we don't always come back in. This work will give you the skills where you can go, oh, I'm still out here hanging out. And you can bring the invitation to that part to have the safety of who you are in the now and to recognize how different it was from when it needed to be out there. And that kind of healing, to do it for yourself, it's our blessing to ourselves. It is our connection to our own spiritual self and this body that we have. We have the capacity. We just haven't known that we could do it. Some of you probably know something about this already. There's the four immeasurables. The four immeasurables, you cannot measure compassion. and what it means and how big it is and how it can flip things in an instant. There's loving kindness. I mean, love itself and kindness itself are wonderful things, but you put them together, it's potent and it's powerful. Sympathetic joy. Sympathetic joy is when we have sympathy for ourselves for going through the crap that we went through and that we got through it and we survived it and we still kept our goodness. And then there's equanimity. All things are equal. We can give them a hierarchy in terms of events, but good and bad are like black and white. They have their purpose. They have their organization. And when we place things way above other things, then we don't have an equanimity within ourselves. And this is where people oftentimes trip over themselves because they don't want to know the dark side of their nature. Because if they know the dark side of their nature, they might turn out to be that bad person that they think their dark side is all about. And it might be that that dark side has some things for them to know about their own fierceness, their own, I will hold this boundary no matter what, and I'm willing to die for it, and their own capacity as a human being to hold their own dark and light and find their neutral. And I think that's a big deal. Usually we leave that into the realm of spirituality. And to me, it's something that we confront in ourselves daily. You know, me not flipping off the driver that tried to run me off the road. And me going, oh, I'm doing it. I'm saying bad words. And then I'll laugh because I'm saying bad words, but I'm not flipping him off. And I'm having this rush of adrenaline, and I've got a fair amount of fire. So it's like, if it comes down to brass tacks, I'll fight. My preference is not to, because it matters. But I don't like somebody pushing on me because they think they can. And that's where being friends with my dark side has been very helpful in my life, where I can go, oh yeah, I'm a short shit, but I'll hurt your toes. It makes me funny to people who have been rude, and it calms the situation, it changes it. So there's where my equanimity really started to become an idea that had an actuality, and I started to really understand how important it was inside of me to know my own dark side, to know what I will do and what I won't do, what I guard against, what I do not allow myself to do, because I respect what I like about myself, and I'm not going to destroy it. Does this make sense? We very rarely have these kind of honest talks with ourselves, much less the people that we're close to. When we have these honest talks with ourselves, it gives us our own access to our own intimacy. We know who we are, and we know what we want, and we know what we will work for, even if it's just really hard. I'm a person who used to have a horrible, horrible temper. I was such a pain in the butt as a kid. And I had parents that were like, you're going to have to learn to find your way, to keep yourself in a parameter, because you're going to miss not having friends. Well, I lost a few friends and then I started to understand what they were telling me. And it made me come in to give myself containment.
All right, so we're going to, you have lessons that hopefully it's 8:07. You can open up and start to make your way through these topics. There's deeper dives. We've got a lot of content out there. And so we're going to talk about the intention next, about I call it lesson plan, but this is really slow.
It's a lot of usage right at this time.
So as Susan mentioned, like just if we just take a second and take a deep breath, get a little settled on our seat bones, there's a lot of information here. And this information has layers. And I want to just tell you and your nervous system and your cranium that you're going to get it. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to take all the notes. I want to remind you, this is inherent in us already. We're giving words to it. We're giving context to it. And we're going to practice and build muscles for it. So the way that we set this up is each module's got 3 weeks to it. The first week, you're just going to take in the information. Go through it. Let your brain hear it. Just let your body feel it. Right? Week 1, just do that. Don't go through and try to memorize each one before you go to the next one. And then flow back through in week 2. Start to embody it a little bit more. Start to do some of the practices a little longer. Set yourself up a little deeper. Like take that next drop in a little bit more. And then by week 3, we're developing a practice around it. So we will also have the conversations in that order. Like today, we're introducing you to the content. This week, you're going to do your pass on it, right? And start to work with it. I just want to remind you of this because our tendency when we're doing things called classes is to think we're going to be tested and you know all these things that are sitting below the waterline in our subconscious. We don't need them. We don't need them. Listen to how your body responds to this information as you read it, as you experience it. There's going to be lots of time to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and drop in. Because as soon as, I promise you, I've been doing this for years, and I've had the privilege of working with this person for quite a while now. And just when I think I understand something, I drop down and go, whoa, purple powder everywhere. Like I've got a whole nother angle on this thing that seems so simple, you know? And so enjoy the journey, enjoy that experience of you, and fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
Fall in love with you. I can't tell you the difference between who I am today and who I was when someone handed me a mirror and said, look in the mirror and you tell yourself you love yourself. I was so pissed off. Like, screw you, lady. What is this all about? Why am I paying you for this? I was angry, 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 angry. I did not want to look at myself. I did not like myself, right? So we know it's all behind that. But I'm just offering that as an example of what's going to happen as you become your own best advocate. As you I look in the mirror now, I'm like, oh, I love you. You did such a good job, and that was horrible to go through yesterday, and you did it anyway, and I am so grateful for you. You know, it's a totally different experience now, but it changes how I show up for other people who might be experiencing that old version of me. So this lesson plan, it's set up so you can bounce down to the next level. And if you don't get it, it's okay. If you're trying to get it from here, you're going to be like, oh my God. Trust that you're getting it from here. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to keep reminding you because I suffered from this for a long time, trying to write it down and make sense and all the things. Any questions on how this is set up and structured? What do we have next for them, Susan? Let's see what we have here.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, we wanted to see if there's any questions and talk about how we're going to interact as a group. What do you got up there? Any questions so far? So hopefully now you can pop over and see the community. Well, you already, I think we all checked in, so everyone could see the community. I added another section, so the community has a general chat. Have at it. How's your Sunday? I love you guys. Whatever that is, right? We have an aha section, and what I meant by that was there's hopefully going to be moments when two things come into just a crash collision, and you're like, oh my God. And you want to process that somewhere, you want to share it somewhere. We want those sectioned off so we can use those as case studies and we can support you in your journey. And we have the story there. So don't hesitate to say, oh my gosh, I thought all these things and the story about this and the story about that. And when you said this about that and boom, right? Whatever that is, it's okay. It's an aha moment where you're processing and you're updating your nervous system, you're upgrading your pathways in your cranium. All the things are happening. So that's what that's intended for. Announcements is pretty straightforward. And then the questions. Now, questions, both the lessons and the community have opportunities for you to put stuff in there. In the lessons, I guess I was thinking about like if you're processing something and like that you're experiencing as you're going through this, maybe it's a good place for you guys to share that stuff and go back and forth. Like I didn't hear that. This is what I took away from it, or like I don't understand what you mean by this. But allowing you guys some dialogue in the lesson plans, I want to see how Thinkific works there. Feel free. See how that works. See if it works at all. We reserve the right to change any of this platform that we want. And then in the question section of the community, I wanted to be able to see if there were specific questions we needed to be addressing the next week or getting back to you on. Like if you're stuck on something and you're churning or whatever, you have questions, I want to be able to monitor something and it's not hidden in all the other stuff, that there's questions that we're answering for you so that you can move to the next step, or we can use it as a conversation topic in a weekly call. What do you think about all that? Try it. We can do whatever we want. We can change it whenever we want. But I would appreciate the feedback. This first putting everything on the platform and trying to feel out how much is okay to do online and how much we want to dialogue about. We do recognize that this is something we're feeling out in every moment. Anything to add to that? Anything come up for you?
No, but if you want to unmute yourselves so we can have more of a dialogue, and you can pop in a comment here and there, that would be nice.
I have some teenagers hanging out at the house. I don't know that you want all that dialogue.
That could be interesting.
There's a whole hair dye situation. Yeah, a whole hair dye, bikini tops. I don't even know.
Anything can happen. This is exciting. I can feel the excitement in my chest as I hear it. You could have surprises.
And the stains in the bathtub, I'm sure, will be great.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go back to working in groups. And this is where it's really important for us to dialogue honestly. One, to give yourself, your body, your nervous system, the acknowledgement when if something gets tripped and you're feeling unsafe, we'll work into a way like how do we do that, right? So I can't help but I'm a face reader. I'm a huge empath, so I can't help. I'm always like going through the whole grid, just like making sure that I see facial expressions, comfort level, and things like that. But there's no way for me to know what is triggering kind of at the deeper level sometimes. So giving yourself that voice, yes, but also when we do this, we give each other permission to do this. Like if I'm like, oh my gosh, I am really feeling uncomfortable right now. I don't even know why. I've been learning to do that more. So those are the kinds of things we want to be able to do because this is a safe space. We are, how many of us? There's 7 women here that are on a very intentional journey to deepen their relationship with self and therefore with others. And so this is, for the next 9 weeks, this is us. Anything else on the safety?
Yeah. Confidentiality. So you can talk about your own experience, with a family member or somebody that's close to you, but please don't share what happens within the group. I'll say please, but mandatory. How we keep that safety, that confidentiality, it's in the field. So you can talk about your own experience. I had problems with someone, but I'm only going to talk about how it affected me. Does that make sense? Can we all agree to that? Thank you.
So in the pairing up of things, we've gone in many different directions, but I think right now we're going to do it by module. And so we're going to intentionally connect with someone or there's an odd number in this particular class. So we'll have a group of 3 each module. So for this first one, Jess and Kylie will tag up. And then, oh, look at you guys are kind of organized in the way
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then Emily, Renee, and Dee, you guys are going to tag up. Engage with one another. Share your experiences with one another. And it doesn't mean you can't cross-pollinate, so to speak, and do the same, but making an intentional connection in the first module around the content and your experiences with it really is important for the experiential part. And then in module 2, we'll just be swapping people around. We roll some dice and do some weird things. No, but the pairing up is part of kind of a way to deepen the experience, build connection, and in that connection also tests some of the things we're learning. So, boink, 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 boink.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about accountability. Our accountability to self and holding one another accountable. This is a place where, well, it's absolutely appropriate to have fun. It's absolutely appropriate to make connection. But what we want to be doing is really holding ourselves accountable for when we are falling into some of our old behaviors, or we're kind of glazing over it because nobody really wants to go deep right now. So I really want to ask all of you, it's a hard thing to do. It's a muscle we build, but to stop and go, guess what, guys? We're skimming the top. It's time to nose down here. Let's do it. Who's in first, right? And we can do it fun, but really holding ourselves and each other accountable for the work that we're here to do. And you can, it's going to ebb and flow. And it's going to take us a little while to go, oh, wait a minute. We've been at this for 30 minutes and we really haven't kind of got to the real shit yet.
Can I come in with something?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Usually what happens in a group and in this work is that we want to go to the story. And we don't want to feel the feelings that go with the story. Okay. And so this is where the accountability really matters, because when we go to the story, we're just deepening that brain group, and we're not unpacking our nervous system from the hormones that have been held in our body for so long about what happened. You can do things that can be protective. There's a lot to this story, or there's a lot in my body. I only want to identify that my stomach doesn't feel good, and I want to sit by myself while I'm present with you. There's ways of having some safety with each other and with yourself, so you don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to have to strip myself naked in front of people that I don't know, and I don't even know this about myself. So the context is, I'm not comfortable. I'm going to name it. I'm present with it. Your partner might, if you're communicating online with each other, it's like, yeah, I get that. I can see it in your face. but I can also feel it on the screen. And this is a really good time to really put yourself in that grounded place, practice these skills and ask your partner, even though you're feeling uncomfortable, do you have a sense of where you are with your body? Can you be with this? We can start offering that support, stay in relationship. Oh, maybe I should be over here, huh? Gotcha. Is that better? So this is where we can kind of expand our field so we're not so up close and too personal for something that's really delicate for a person in their experience. So again, this is something that all of you know a lot about, but we haven't cognitized it in this way. This is what helps people build that sense of trust within themselves. I can say what's going on with me, and I can have my own space of, I don't want to share more than that. Okay, so that's how the accountability works here because it's process work. We're doing it from the inside out instead of from the outside in. And it's a big challenge because sometimes we don't know. And it's okay to say, I don't know. And the person, your partner or your partners, holding space, they don't have to know. We can just be present while this unfolds itself. And it's just what it is. Is that helpful?
Very.
Okay. So safety, yeah, yes.
I just had a question. So, and maybe this will come up as we go down into it more. So, for our partners for the module, how will, like, how do we communicate?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
It's going to be defined by you. Do you guys want to use chat? Do you want to set up time together? I mean, it's going to be preferences and how you guys want to work together with one another. If we need to establish that now, we can, but my thinking was that you guys would be able to go ahead and connect and kind of figure out based on timing and schedules. And after looking at the content, like you haven't even seen module 1 yet, technically. It just opened up. So what would you guys like to do for that right now?
I think I'd like a contact list for everybody in the class, both
Cell phones or emails, something like that.
email and cell phone or something. And then whoever we're in the group with at the time, we can either using chat or email, whatever works for that group, discuss it,
Yeah.
like you say, after having a chance to look at module 1 and get a better idea of what it is and just see.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
So I'll just make a page in the course with the contact list in the housekeeping and communication section.
Right.
And I may have I think I have everyone's email and phone numbers to start with. And then we'll just, based on feedback, we'll make adjustments on how things are going. All right, so let's talk about pilot activities and expectations. We had it in the introductory email. The whole purpose of doing this pilot was to test out the mixed, content delivery. So your feedback is important. We want you to share it. We want to make this better, and we need some help on how that sits on the other side. Thinkific isn't that great. It doesn't let me test my own stuff because it tells me I'm already registered. I think you guys got some of those error messages. I'm like, it makes no sense that I can't go out and use my own site. But anyway, so I'm going to learn through you. Thank you. And I'm just going to ask for some patience. We've thought through all the things we can think through. We've got it organized the best. But again, it's so easy to think you can start back at the beginning. You can't always get back there, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
there may be some steps we missed, or like there's some gaps we could fill, or anything that would make this experience so much smoother, easier, consumable. I would ask for your help on that. And then, especially during the retreat, but along the way, we're going to be asking for, testimonials, or we may be doing videos that we share clips with, use it for, ability to fill the next class, because the goal is to be able to share this content, and use this experience to get more exposure, so to speak. So, hopefully that's not news to anyone that's signed up. That was part of the whole in the email and waiver piece of it. Is everyone okay?
Mhm.
Of course, it's not going to be anything tender. It's just about summary expectation or summary experiences and things like that. So I just want to make sure I say that out loud. And then last, I already have a mea culpa for you. Gotta have it. I didn't realize the 11th was Mother's Day. So sorry. So I checked at the retreat place. It looks available the week before. And I think we might move it that week if I can get all of you to agree. It's going to be the same format. We have the contents right there on Friday and Saturday. It will just be the weekend before, so that all of you mothers can be with your families and do family things. How about that? Can I get help?
So this would be May 1st through the 4th.
Yes.
We were right there that Thursday. So we would have our last class on the Tuesday, and then that following Thursday, we would make the drive, be buddies, and we would have our dinner together and our beginning process. You're going to go through some work with yourself. The course is always designed for how you apply it to yourself. And then there's the sharing. But that sharing is that person says, this is my experience with it, and the other person listens. So you're practicing holding space, all of those things, and being a witness to that person's experience. The experiential stuff, we're going to work together to really cement in that embodiment of how I work with myself when I go up and I touch somebody's hand just to make contact. And what happens when I'm approaching them, and what do I notice in my own body? So it's taking it into an experience where it's much more interrelational. And that really seals it in our nervous system. A lot of things get healed in a group, because when we have a group that has the commonality of respect and safety, a lot of the things that we didn't get as that child or as that teen or even as an adult, we start to have drops in our bucket, and it changes what's happening in our nervous system, what it's like to be in a group, even to have a disagreement in a group, and to work through it in a way that it's respectful and safe. So this is the content in terms of where you are really self-directed in your own learning. You have a buddy to share your own self-directedness and go, I did good, or I didn't do much. And I just can't do much this week. And it might be that way. It can be a mixture. And then when we gather together, because of our collective energy and meeting on the classes and our reporting in on how we've been doing and what we've been learning and how somebody else's observation, opened up something else, in our mind or in our sensory processing in our bodies, then we have skills that we can build on for the rest of our lives, and they really work. And that's why the course is the way it is.
And we bring that into the world as well.
Yeah.
That presence, you carry that with you. You get to take that home. It's like a party favor.
Yeah. And for me, it's like I'm always excited to see what people do. And I mean, it's like, that's my curiosity, I'm just going to go back to my own story of when I came into the somatic, yes, when I came into the somatic work, I didn't have this kind of language. I had all of this stuff happening inside of me, but I didn't have any words for it. I didn't have people that I felt like I could share it with. And it changed my life. I found out that I had brothers and sisters, people who were, a like mind. It was amazing. And it grew from there. And I think people like that. And you all are leaders here. Thank you.
So I'm going to go back to May 1 through 4.
But actually,
Oh my God, thank you.
that works better for me
Sure.
because I have a big concert the next Thursday on the 8th, and I would not have been able to come until Friday. And now I will just get a substitute to teach my classes and be able to go on Thursday and maybe get to carpool with others, and that'll be fun. So thank you.
So much. I am so sorry, but it's going to work out. And the retreat's going to take shape. It's going to take shape based on how we progress through here and how we'll sequence things. We will roll things out based on this unique group. So you got 9 weeks. What we know for sure is we're arriving Thursday because we're going to connect. We're going to hang out. The place is awesome. And so we get to land and be together, break bread. We will be kind of breaking up the dinners and the food situation. We're going to bring the snacks and the drinks and stuff like that. So we're going to figure all that out. But Thursday we arrive, we hang, we get ourselves situated. Friday and Saturday workshops, intensives, mixed with some outside activity. We're going to have a nice outdoor space. I hear there's running water. I hear there's a stream near there. We got some wooded areas. We got all kinds of nature to really nurture us as we dive in and out of this work. Sunday we wrap it up and we head home. It's going to be amazing. So that's all we had planned. Got it done. I wasn't sure we'd get it done in 2 hours, or in 1 hour and a half, but looks like we did it. Where are you all at? Are there any final questions before we wrap this first call up? Yes, Renee.
So once again, I'm sure it'll make more sense as I look at module 1. But if I understand correctly, in module 1 we'll have 3 weeks
Yes.
for that, and that you had a recommendation about taking in the first week and then what to do second week and third week, and that for these 3 weeks we'll still be having this call every Tuesday at 7, and then whatever groups we're in will start working together throughout these 3 weeks. Does that sound about right?
That's exactly the plan. So the questions that you're putting in the community chat or in the lessons, what's going on, Demetria? That was an unnecessary nostril zoom. Thank you.
I was writing notes, sorry.
Just being
I'll have a
funny.
better computer.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. So we're gonna base those calls on the progress of the group. I'm gonna be out there monitoring what's going on for you guys. So please put your questions in there. Don't hesitate to give me a holler if anything is going wrong or giving you a hard time. And then again, we'll have a little bit of wisdom that we'll share, kind of chew on the content a little bit, really give it some texture, some tone, and we will see how that's showing up for you. You check in. Like, how is this crossing all of your stuff? I don't know, I'm losing my words. It's getting late. It's past my bedtime.
Me
So
too.
each week will be a unique experience. Any closing thoughts from you? What do you think?
If you run into any big issues, let me know, and I will get back with you. So I think you've got my email. I don't know if you've got my phone number. And texting is probably the most immediate. And that's just a safety thing. And yeah.
Yeah, I really want to ask that we use the community unless it's very highly personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, I just want to
yeah,
be clear
but I mean, it's
about what we
like,
want
I'm
to
just
do.
saying, if anything
Yeah.
big comes up,
Yeah.
yeah, because this adds another layer of safety. Not that it will, but you know, if it does, you
Yeah.
know, you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody have my phone number? No. Okay.
No, I don't have it.
Okay. Can you write? Can
Put it in
Yes.
the contact list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
She'll
just
put
put
it
on-
in the contact list.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
put the contact list
Yeah.
out there for everybody.
That works.
So,
All right, everybody. Thanks for being.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice
Thanks,
meeting
everyone.
everybody.
It's wonderful to meet you guys.
You all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
See you next week.